Good morning, everybody. So we were discussing is that whereas it's perfectly permitted for me to give you a seah of wheat and for you to give me back a seah of wheat, we call that trade, we call that barter. I cannot give you a seah of wheat, 10 pounds of wheat, for you to give me back 10 pounds of wheat in 6 months. Because we're afraid that 10 pounds of wheat will go up, and that will be ribis d'Rabbanan. It's not ribis d'oraisa. What ribis d'oraisa would be if I gave you a seah of wheat for you to give me 2 seah back. That's absolute ribis. But ribis d'Rabbanan is for you to give me a seah in 6 months, and it's likely it'll go up. We don't know for sure that it will.
What if you know it won't go up? Then you can do it, meaning you know the price can stay the same in a 2 week.
How are you supposed to know that with a commodity? By definition, Chazal say with a commodity, there's fluctuation.
Correct.
Okay. And the way Chazal look at it, and I know this is perhaps a little complex for us with our appreciation of money, is that money remains static. Otherwise, you could argue, how can I lend you $100 for $100 in 6 months? Maybe the value of $100 will go up. So
money trades also.
Right. So as I'm explaining to you, that in the perspective of Chazal, that item with which we use to engage in commerce, that means kesef hayotze, is considered to be stationary, and you look at it like the commodities are fluctuating. And therefore it is prohibited to give a commodity to get back a commodity in 6 months. And when we talk about a commodity, we mean a commodity that you intend to use up. Unlike a car, right? If I give you a car for 6 months, I don't intend for you to give me another car. I intend for you to give me the same car back. Now, since this is only ribis d'Rabbanan, there is a leniency. And that is, if I have 10 pounds of wheat locked up in a shed, and I give you 10 pounds, and you give me 10 pounds of wheat, and I'll give it back to you in 6 months, since right now I have the wheat, it's like a barter, and not like a loan. Even though we can't access the wheat until I get a key, and I may not be able to access the wheat for 6 months. But as long as the borrower has wheat in his possession at the time when he borrows the wheat from the lender, then it's permitted. There's only a Isser D'Rabbanan, as I mentioned a moment ago. And in such a scenario, it's permitted. We look at it as if these 10 seah that are locked up in the shed go back immediately to the lender, and he's just taking delivery in 6 months. Now, on page 16, Rashi over here in the Gemara B'Metzia Daf Ayin Hey Amud Aleph extends this heter. And that is that if the lovan, the borrower, has even 1 seah in his possession, he could borrow 10 seah from the lender on this 1 seah that he has. How does that work? Every one of the 10 seah that he gets, it's like he gave it back to the lender, that 1 seah that he has, and therefore we don't classify it as a loan. So that's one heter. It's a fascinating type heter. On page 17, Daf Mem Daled Beis and Bab Metzia, we have another discussion going back to my original point about money versus commodity. Says the Gemara where the gray is. V'af Rabbi Chia Savar Dava Tivahave. In those days, they had 2 types of coins. They had silver coins and they had gold coins. And Rabbi Chia held that gold has the status of coinage. Dirav Ozif Dinar Mibarte, Rav borrowed gold coins from his daughter, of Rabbi Chia, from the daughter of Rabbi Chia. L'sof Iyakor Dinare, the value of coins went up. So when Rav is paying back the gold coins, they're worth more than the gold at the time when he borrowed them. Asla Kamei Rabbi Chia, he went to Rabbi Chia, Amar Lezel Shlimna, go pay my daughter the coins. Tavin v'takilin, give her good coins. If you say that gold is coinage, that's very good. If you say that gold coins have the status of a commodity, then it would be also what he did. because he borrowed gold coins. You can't pay back gold coins if gold coins are a commodity. And the Gemara says no. The truth was that Rav had gold coins all along. It's just he couldn't access them. So therefore, even if gold coins are a commodity, it's not a problem. Because when he borrows the gold coins from the daughter of Rabbi Chia, it's like he gave her the gold coins that are right now in his storehouse that it's locked up. And she's just merely taking delivery later. So the Gemara is not clear, do gold coins have the status of a commodity or do they have the status of a currency? Now, this is very important for us today. Because it's clear that if you're standing in the United States of America, the dollar bill has the status of a currency and not a commodity. So where's our example of gold coins? In those days, silver coins were the basic currency, and gold coins were like the special currency. Let's say I borrow from someone in America 1,000 shekel, Israeli shekel, to pay him back 1,000 shekel. Well, the problem is that 1,000 shekel in America are not currency. You can't go to the Stop and Shop and pay them in shkolim. It doesn't work like that. They are coinage, but they're coinage in Eretz Yisrael, and vice versa. And this is a very, very big shaila, because it may well be usher, because it may be that the shekel is like that gold coin that's in the story of Rav and Rabbi Chia, and the Gemara concludes over there that it was only mutter because Rav had gold coins in his possession that were locked up in a safe box. So let's look at the Mechaber Siman Kuf Samach Beis. Says the Mechaber, Asur l'lavo sa b'sa. You cannot lend commodity for commodity, afilu lo kotzav lo zman l'piro, even if there's no specific time to pay back. V'chein kol davar, you can't lend anything chutz mimatzbeya kesef hayotze, except for the coinage that goes out at that point.
So how do you buy?
That's,
say with cash stocks or?
You're not borrowing, you're buying.
Right.
You're buying, you're not borrowing. You can't borrow, you're buying.
But you're officially, you don't
No.
have it. You don't have
That doesn't make a difference. You could buy something that you don't have, but you're buying. I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but when you buy,
straight out, you're saying that's
when you buy a stock, okay, you're not buying to get paid back. You're right now buying a teeny piece of a company.
Correct.
So I'm buying. That's mutter. Maybe certain types of concepts of borrowing stocks would be usher.
Well, that's if you don't have the money. That's called on margin.
Right. So if you borrow stocks or things like that, that may be a problem. May. I have to figure out exactly what's going on there. Okay? So you could only use the coinage that goes out, the Shema Yisyakru, maybe they'll get more expensive. And then it'll turn out that you're getting more than you're giving. Now there's another way you could lend a commodity that the Mechaber now on page 20 is discussing. And this is interesting. Im lo shiasenu damim, shem yisyakru yitin lo osam damim, vim lo aso damim yisyakru nosen lo adam shayushavim kishas halva, vim huzlu nosen lo asa shalvei. The Mechaber prefers another way that you could lend a commodity. So we had one way you could lend a commodity, and that is if the borrower has that commodity in his possession at the time when he's borrowing the commodity from the lender. But now we're going to give another option. If I borrow 10 pounds of wheat from you, and we say, listen, the 10 pounds of wheat are right now worth $1 a pound, that's $10, that's mutter. That's mutter. Because now the borrower has an option. Either he can pay back the 10 pounds of wheat if they're the same price, but if the 10 pounds of wheat in 6 months go up in price, he can pay back $10. That's mutter. That's perfectly mutter. Says the Ramah Yesh Mishakasav. The Vizman Azeh that today, Matbea Shalzov Dino Kekesev. A coin of gold is like silver. And you're allowed to lend gold with gold, and that's how we're bakel. Okay? Now, the Ramah at the very end brings another heter, a third heter for lending a commodity. Yesh mi she'omer shemuter l'lavos kikar lechem b'kikar lechem kamatbea shel kesef. D'me'achar davar mo'atu v'lo kaptu b'nei adam la'adadei b'zeh v'chein na'igin l'hakel. I could lend you a loaf of bread and you'll pay me back a loaf of bread. The loaf of bread maybe go up in value. No, because I'm not really makbid. I don't really care. It's something so small that we're not really makbid, we're not really particular. If I lend you 1,000 pounds of wheat and you don't pay me back 1,000 pounds of wheat, I'd be very, very upset. But if I lend you a loaf of bread and you're just going to give me back a loaf of bread in a couple of days, that's not a problem. And this is a very common situation. You're sitting with someone and they have an extra donut. Hey, give me a donut. When I go buy donuts in a week from now, I'll give you a donut back. That's mutter. It's a commodity for a commodity. It's something that we're bechlal, not makbid on. Okay.
Is it just because it's not significant enough?
Not significant that a person.
It would be somewhat of. That's the question. Does ribas and interest have to do with the significance of the money? Meaning, if it's
No.
10 cents,
So
it doesn't matter?
again, if it's ribas d'oraisa, so I lend you $1 to give me $1.10 back, none of these leniencies apply. But when you're dealing with ribas d'rabbanan, where the whole issue is that the commodity may go up, and then you'll be forced to pay back a higher rate than you took it. In that case, we say that if it's a minor amount, we don't care.
Right. Because even if the person doesn't care, you still can, because it's a halacha. Like, let's say if I say I don't care about the 20 cents.
Oh, that's still a problem. Right, because, and that is a very important point, because when you're dealing with ribas d'oraisa, the Torah clearly answered ribas, even though in many cases the borrower, as the Rosh says, wants to give the lender money.
Correct.
After all, if you're running a business, you want to encourage a lender to give you more money the next time you make a business investment. Nonetheless, the Torah answered ribas. But in the case of saw b'saw, we say if it's a minor amount that people are not makbid, in that case, we are matir it if it's a tiny amount that no one cares about. Okay? So that's this. These leniencies only apply with ribas d'rabbanan. They do not apply with ribas d'oraisa. All right, the hour is getting late. Let's stop here. It's been real pleasure. And we're going to finish off Mirza Hashem, this section on Erev Shabbos, hopefully. Maybe we'll even go a little bit further.